I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is an open meeting of the Seward, Nebraska governing body. The city of Seward abides by the Nebraska Open Meetings Act in conducting business. A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is displayed on the north wall of this meeting room facility as required. Disclosure of meeting recording processes is posted in the meeting room. A participant sign-in sheet is available for use by any citizen addressing the council. Presenter shall approach the podium, state their name and address for the clerk's record, and are asked to limit remarks to 5 minutes. All remarks will be directed to the mayor, who shall determine by whom any appropriate response shall be made. The city of Seward reserves the right to adjust the order of items on this agenda if necessary and may elect to take action on any of the items listed. Please call the roll.
Wilson.
Present.
Bass.
Here.
Camper.
Here.
Holdeman.
Here.
Miller. Singleton.
Here.
Schmidt.
Here.
Hendricks.
Here.
First item this evening is the consideration of approval of draft minutes for June 18th, 2019.
Move.
Second. Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Display the votes.
In favor, welcome back, Campus Holdeman, Singleton, Hendricks. Motion carried.
Items 2 and 3 are the consent agenda items this evening.
So move.
Second. Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
In favor, welcome back, Campus Holdeman, Singleton, Hendricks. Motion carried.
Item 4, consideration of Mayor Eichenmeyer's appointments to various boards and committees. Item 4A, reappointment of John Owen to the Civic Center Commission for a 3-year term.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
In favor, welcome back, Campus Holdeman, Singleton, Hendricks. Motion carried.
Item 4B is the reappointment of Brad Bowen and Corey Gray to the Civil Service Commission for a 5-year term.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
In favor, welcome back, Campus Holdeman, Singleton, Schmidt, Hendricks. Motion carried.
Item 4C, reappointment of Corey Mueller, Larry Ruther, and Ed Gonzalez to the Electricians Board for a 2-year term.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
In favor, welcome back, Campus Holdeman, Singleton, Schmidt, Hendricks. Motion carried.
Item 4D, appointment of Scott Seaver to the Planning Commission for a 3-year term.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
In favor, welcome back, Campus Holdeman, Singleton, Schmidt, Hendricks. Motion carried.
Item 4E, appointment of Kelly Lindback to the Parks and Recreation Board for a 3-year term.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
In favor, welcome back, Campus Holdeman, Singleton, Schmidt, Hendricks. Motion carried.
Item 5, consideration of amending the rules and regulations for Seward cemeteries. We have Director Bob Core here with us. Did you want to take this up?
The only thing is, would just be on number 14 on your page. They just never had anything in writing. Really nothing's changing from what they do. They still have that 6-inch wash around the headstone, which is just from the concrete. There's a 6-inch lip there, so they can mow and everything. So they just never had anything in writing as far as the depth of the concrete being 8 inches thick. And we get a lot of stone setters coming from Omaha and Lincoln, so they're able to pull these up and have those rules and just have everything in writing that has never been put in there in the past. So that's what they just wanted, the cemetery board just wanted to get make sure everything was in writing, in case anything did pop up.
Okay. Any questions for Bob or any comments?
Move to amend rules and regulation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
In favor, welcome back, Campus Holdeman, Singleton, Schmidt, Hendricks. Motion carried.
Thanks, Bob. Item 6, consideration of an agreement with JO Consulting Group to prepare the levy free board risk analysis and emergency preparedness plan. Jake.
Good evening. So JDO was here a couple meetings ago to discuss the levy accreditation reports. So to move forward with accreditation, as Michael Bash mentioned, there is one area of the levee that does not meet the freeboard that we need. There needs to be 3-foot freeboard. So it doesn't meet by less than, I think it's like 6 inches or something like that. So when it's so minor, they can do a cost-benefit analysis and forego actually doing the improvements based on the cost-benefit analysis. If the analysis shows that it's not worth the benefit of improving the freeboard by the minor amount.
And you could still get accredited?
Yes, so we either have to add fill and improve the freeboard or do the cost benefit analysis. Cost benefit analysis, based on their experience, will get approved and usually cost us less money. We don't have to do construction, get a permit, things like that. So this process is a lot smoother if we can do the analysis, and that's their recommendation. Another item on this, in this scope, is the emergency preparedness plan. Again, that's another box we have to check for the levy accreditation process, and it is a process. It's taken about a year so far, and we're still a little ways out before we get it completely accredited, so.
Jake, with the freeboard analysis, they'll also go out and do a more detailed analysis of that area of concern too, because they use, I don't know if they use LiDAR data or what they use to.
Correct.
And so that can also be inaccurate, and they haven't gone through and done a secondary analysis to determine, correct?
Correct.
So they may go out as part of this freeboard analysis and go out and find out from a deeper look at it when they go on site and look and do some other things.
Yep.
That it's closer to where it was supposed to be in the first place,
Mhm.
which will be part of that risk assessment.
Yeah. And the benefit of the cost benefit analysis is really just a checkbox that we can move on towards accreditation. The emergency preparedness plan, I think, would actually be of value to us because it is a plan that, you know, we can follow and look at when we are in an emergency state. We really didn't have that when we had our flood. We just kind of looking at things and going flying by the seat of our pants, thinking about what's best and what areas we need to alert people. The emergency preparedness plan really puts a lot of that in a document that's easy to follow and get input, and it's a pretty decent process. You can tell if you look through the scope of what all they're going to do for that. So it is a box to check for accreditation, but I think it will bring some value to us as well.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments for Jake? Is there a motion?
Move to approve the agreement?
Second.
A motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, be register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wolfman, Beck, Camper, Coleman, Single, Schmidt, Hendricks, motion carries.
Item number 7, consideration for awarding the bid for construction of the South Highway 15 Rail Campus Improvement Turn Lanes. Jake?
All right, so we had a bid letting on June 7th for the turn lanes. As we're kind of step back a little bit, the traffic study that we had done for the rail campus and the entrance that we had planned for required turn lanes via NDOT. And so this is the improvement project to build those turn lanes. With the agreement with Schooler, based on memorandum of understanding, in that agreement we have until the end of May 2020 to build the turn lanes. And that is something that Schooler pushed for and they continue to push for. Most projects, we really don't have a set timeline that we have to get the projects done by. With that in mind, we had already had a contract with Olson when we knew that Schooler had selected our site. So the design was well on its way, and we got the permit and we got everything rolling and got this thing out to bid as soon as we could and before NDOT thought that we should. And The bids that we got were not as favorable. I think there was a lot to do with that, based on just the bidding climate that it is right now. We usually don't like to bid in June when everyone's busy, and they're not really looking at next year. With a lot of the recent floods, a lot of the contractors are pulled off on that type of work. Some of it's emergency work, and some of it is work that some contractors got pulled off for emergency, and now they're backed up on their normal scheduled work. So a few things working against us, and the bidding climate was just not ideal. But with our agreement with Schooler to have these turn lanes in place by May 2020, we really had no choice but to go ahead and move forward and get this thing bid as soon as possible. So with that requirement of having that date, the project done, it makes it difficult to look at the project and look at the bids and decide to rebid it based on the amount of time we have to get the project done. Project timeline will take somewhere around 90 days, so we're talking about 3 months of construction. And if we were to bid this again, our completion date would remain the same in May of the end of May of 2020. So I guess what I'm saying is it's not ideal to go ahead and rebid the project based on the timeline that we have, and we're kind of backed up against the wall based on that. And Schooler is too. They plan to be operational by August of 2020. So they plan to have equipment, staff already rolling in May, June, July of next year as well. So just getting some feedback from them. They're not really crazy about changing their agreement or amending our agreement with them or the memorandum of understanding. To the numbers, our initial estimate for this project was $850,000. That was a very initial estimate given to us by Olson Associates. That was about a year ago. Most recently, we were given an estimate of around $600,000, and the low bid came in at $990,000. So we're quite a ways over our initial, or our most recent cost estimate, but somewhat in line with our initial estimates. I met with the low bid contractor today because he did offer some ideas for reducing the cost. Obviously, he's interested in you guys awarding the bid. So we do have a few items that we can come up with and reduce some costs. We're talking $40,000-$50,000, but not a significant amount to put us close to the $850,000 that we were initially at. So,
What
with
did
the
what did you say the bid was?
$990,000 was the low bid. We did get 2 bids. I anticipated we would get 3 or 4. The other 2 just could not get the project scheduled on their schedule in time to meet our completion date of May 2020.
Is this the one that we're getting the $500,000 from the state on as well?
Yep.
So our cost would be 500 plus, so 400.
Right, 450.
450.
Any other questions or comments for Jake? Somebody make a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we register your votes. Please display the votes.
Becker, Wolfenbeck, Patrick, Coleman, Singleton, Schmidt, Hendrick, motion carried.
Item 8, consideration of an agreement with Olson to review vendors and hardware for evaluation and coordination of implementing new advanced meter infrastructure system for water and electric.
Yes, twofold, I kinda covered it in my report, but the city currently utilizes the TWAX system for our meter reading. That system was purchased way back yonder in cohesion with the Seward REA, Rural Electric, and NPPD. It was a joint venture. NPPD administers it, they house all the hardware and the software and keep track of that, so when we have issues, we work through their offices to undertake any issues that we have. Further, we have a radio system that communicates with it for the water meters and sends that information back in as well. And we've been moving through that process, continuing to work with them, when approximately 2 years ago, REA, who had converted to Norris at that point, had given notice that they were gonna cease use of the TWAC system as part of the interlocal agreement, give their notice, back out of it, and then convert over to the AMI system that Norris was already implementing through across their service region. And so they would implement that same system throughout the Norris system and make it all cohesive back to their public power district. And so that took place, that pushed costs back onto the city and NPPD. They split those costs as they came back. And so we knew at some point, even back then, there was the potential that NPPD would look to stop utilizing the TWAC system as well. In the meantime, the water radios, the company that produces and services those and manufactures them, are starting to discontinue and give us notice that they're not gonna make them anymore. And so we would need to move to a different radio communication system as well. We were given notice by NPPD, not the official notice, I'm suspecting that will come this summer, like in August approximately. But we'll give an official notice, NPPD is gonna cease use of the TWAC system. And then to continue to utilize that, we would need to move all the hardware, software, and maintain it ourselves here at considerable expense. And so between those two issues, the radios and the water meters, and also the TWAC's issue, we wanted to go out and look at a new automatic or automated meter system and see what's available on the market. And we just didn't feel confident trying to wade those waters ourselves. We know other communities had utilized consultant to go out and meet with all the different vendors, find out what the needs are by interviewing and going through all of our systems, and then bringing in vendors and saying, here's vendor A, B, and C that meet all your thresholds that you're gonna want. Now let's sit down with them, go through their stuff, go out and meet with different communities that have rolled these out in recent years, and you can see how they're implemented, and then make a decision based on whatever criteria you want, cost, everything else, and see if there's one you want to go with. And so this was the recommendation of both Tim Richtig at the Water Department, who was trying to work through finding replacement radios and figure out if he had to go to a whole new system himself. And then with the TWACs going off, Larry Ruther and both Jared wanted to go this route as well and start taking a look at this. So that's where we are today. And so this will roll out. We have enough in our engineering budget on the water side that we'll cover the first half of this with water this year, and then on the back half electric, we'll cover the back half of it in next fiscal year. So
Greg, I'm seeing 49.2 for phases 1 and 2, but something just out there for phase 3.
Phase 3 is probably the implementation.
Says time and materials, but
Yes, task, which one are you on?
Task 301.
Task 301? That's like if we actually implemented it. Like if we picked like a Landis and Gear, that's not in this. And they would come in and administer our rollout of changing out all the meters and working with Landis and Gear to get all the orders in and everything else. I don't know that that's, we'd have to get to that point and then find out that's something that our staff can handle between Larry and Jared and their crews, or if that's something we'll want somebody to assist us on. Those are decisions that'll be made at a later date. Right now, we're just gonna get consultants to match us with the proper equipment and vendors, go out and go see all of them, and then make a decision about the top 3, and then we'll have to come back to you guys and roll everything out and say, here's what we found and here's what we recommend. It isn't gonna be cheap, so.
So 49.2 is what we're looking at for that particular part?
Yes.
Any questions or comments?
Move to approve the agreement with Olson.
Second.
A motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
All in favor, welcome back to Thomas Coleman, single incident payment.
Item number 9, City Administrator's Report.
getting ready for July 4th on Thursday. You'll see us really active tomorrow, rolling out barrels and barricades, parade route stuff. Carnival will be rolling in, pole vaulting will start tomorrow afternoon. What did you say, Councilman?
Roll out the barrel.
Roll out the barrel.
There you go. We met yesterday, all city officials are ready to go. We pretty much got all our tasks set up, and so we'll go with that. So I think we're pretty prepared for that.
Committee thanks the city and the city employees.
Street department, just a note, we had some, as you saw over the weekend, we had some buckling on Highway 34 coming into town over by the Parade of Flags. We think it's just due to heat. I had to run in and get signatures for closing documents today on Schooler, and I went past the segment of 34 by Kawasaki into Fallbrook. And you can see if you go through that way ever, recently they went through and stripped down, and they're already popping again in other spots. They're having a ton of heat on Highway 34 closer to Lincoln. And so, I don't know, I don't know if Jake can speak to something specific about the conditions. I think it's just something that happened. Yep.
Did it also happen, I can't remember if it's on the road right by St.
Columbia
John
and
Church?
Hillcrest.
Columbia and Hillcrest, there was some stuff.
Nobody
that
did
happened.
anything
What?
there. Nobody's done anything there, fixing that.
There's a strip right now they did.
Yeah, they cleaned it up.
Today,
It was,
It wasn't like that today.
no, it was like yesterday morning they did it,
it was all busted.
Monday morning.
Because I drove across it one day.
Okay.
So I think Mel's crew went out on Monday morning and did it. They were working all on Sunday on that one on the highway. They had to jackhammer a bunch of that out, fill it in. So
Okay.
we'll just keep monitoring that. We've had that issue before, as you saw those panels we've taken out on Pinewood the last few summers. And it just does weird things to these roadways, and so people just need to be diligent. If they see something, don't be hesitant to call it in. If you see something, just call. I'd rather have 10 calls than everybody drive by something and be apathetic and thinks, well, somebody had to call it in, right? And just keep going. Like, if you see something like that, call it in. I'd rather get 10 calls than no calls. So, other than that, tomorrow we believe Schooler will be closing on the project site, and they will be activating next week. On Monday, we met with their construction team, had a good meeting with them, so that will be started. All the closing documents, were dropped off today at the title company, and so there'll be a closing tomorrow. And then D will transfer, and our first rail campus project will be sold and in the hands of somebody else, and they'll get started down there. So we're pretty excited about that. I think they'll have a bunch of representatives in town for the 4th of July just to come visit, not to promote or do anything, just to be a part of the community. So we're excited to have them. Other than that, I'll answer any questions you have on my report.
Hey Greg, you have an item on here related to meeting with the Fairway Woods development and drainage. What's going on there?
We went out, the final walkthrough was done, Jake, 3 weeks ago maybe? 4 weeks ago? And then a checklist was provided to them of things they had to fix. Those were given, and 2 of the items that were left over were 2 drainage cells, detention cells. Sort of, one isn't really detention, just run off to the northern end, back behind like Purdue's home, if you're familiar with that one, right by those townhouses. And so they cleaned that one up, and then the other one is the outlot on the southwest corner of the development that goes and then drains to the west along Hillcrest. That one wasn't sloped properly enough, and so they came back in and re-sloped that. We went down and inspected that, and then we made a plan for additional riprap. And so once we made all those plans and have a plan to complete it, we're good on our checklist. And so that's what we were going through, because we're continuing to monitor that, because we'll take over some of those. So Mel and Jake and Ed, myself, met with the developers and walked through all those things and came up with a checklist of things we need them to do and things that we'll do as soon as we get it. So to continue to move water through there and have it drain out as it's designed. So it's there for detention, not for retention. Right, Jake? There you go. Anything else on the report?
Move to approve the report?
Second.
A motion and a second, reverse the votes. Please vote the votes.
All in favor, welcome back to Capital Call and Municipal Management and its motion carries.
Is there any any future requests for council agenda items or administrative action? Seeing none. Announcement of upcoming events. Welcome.
Hello. From your friendly chamber person. Jonathan asked me to fill in tonight, so I'll try to do my best. The housing study survey that is going out, has gone out to hopefully all of you. We hope to wrap that up July 10th, so if you have not taken the survey, please do. It's available on our chamber website, it's available on our Facebook page, or I can personally email it to you as well if you want to participate. I know that they've gotten some good feedback so far, so if we can keep that going, that would be appreciated. We have sidewalk sales happening downtown with our retailers July 18th through the 20th. So hopefully we'll have a good turnout for that and hopefully we'll participate. County fairs, August 8th through 11th. Schooler groundbreaking is planned for August 6th. So we're hoping to pull that off pretty well. We're working on all of that behind the scenes. Schooler they're gonna provide us with some information and then we'll get that out to you guys here. Hopefully, I'm hoping tomorrow, it might be Friday, so. And then Ignite the Flight, the chamber event that we hold out at the airport is gonna happen on September 21st. So we hope to see you all there. We'll have a band out there and 14 to 15 vendors and food trucks again. So hope to have you guys there. And then as a side note, we're trying to start a chapter of Toastmasters International, which is a group to help develop your public speaking skills, which obviously would be a good thing for me because I tend to say and like a lot, so I'm gonna work on that. But you're all welcome to attend those meetings or professionally if you know people in your areas that could use some help. That meets Tuesday at noon, every Tuesday at noon at the Civic Center in the East Fireplace Room. So everyone's welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, all I have is a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Well, motion and a second. You ready for your votes? Please sway the votes.
All in favor, welcome back, Capital Calling, the Miller, Singleton, Seward, and Nebraska.
Thank you.
No, there.
Well,